The one word that holds the secret to your entire existence and this whole universe. And I mean it when I say that. Once you understand it, you understand everything about your reality, where it comes from and why it keeps repeating. The West flattened Tao into go with the flow, which is essentially why it never worked for you. So today, I'm taking the Chinese character itself apart piece by piece, and then the three gates. And gate 3 is the one everybody skips, but it is also the one holding your life exactly where it is. Once you understand this, you understand everything about reality. Let's get into it. I don't even want to erase this, but we gotta get started. Now, I want to tell you a quick thing to hold on to first, basically. Because just a few years ago, I ran a shop where I literally checked the security camera like somebody was breaking in, and refreshed the revenue page every couple of hours when I was away. Remember that throughout the video, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what was wrong with me, and I'll bet a version of it is running to you right now, or in you right now. Now, before I break down the character, and I mean the actual character, as opposed to the coffee mug version, there's a warning I have to give you, because Laozi opened the entire Tao Te Ching with a warning, and almost everybody skips it, and skipping it is exactly what turns this into philosophy as opposed to mechanics. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. That's line 1 of the whole book, and it's essentially a disclaimer. He's trying to tell you up front that every word from here forward is going to fall short. Because the moment you name this thing, you've turned a living process into a dead object. The name itself is a map. And the map was never the territory. The words are a finger pointing at something, and you can study the finger for 20 years and never once look at what the finger is pointing at. So don't try to understand what comes next. Try to recognize it. You have already experienced Tao every single day of your life. You just never had a name for it. Now, this is the part that changed my entire perception on reality. China's characters are built from pieces, and each piece means something, which means the character for Tao is essentially a diagram. And when you take it apart, it shows you exactly what Laozi was pointing at. The character has 2 components. The first one is Zhou, so I'm just gonna write it down right here. It starts with this. This is the first component, okay? And then what this means is walk, or to move. The second one is shou, which is this right here. And this one means head. And head here means the part that goes first, the part that leads awareness, right? So if you put these 2 words together, you get the Tao, right? This is the Tao. And this is something that most translations completely flatten. You might heard of the way, the path. Fine. It does make sense, but not the entire story. Because the character is essentially drawing you a picture of awareness in motion. So I want you, the best way to conceptualize this is awareness with motion. A path that walks itself. Now, I really want you to sit with that for a second, because you can feel this one. The Tao is the movement itself, aware of itself in real time. Which means you're standing in it right now, and you have been standing in it the whole time you were out searching for it. You have been swimming in the ocean your entire life while asking somebody to point you toward water. So if Tao is awareness in motion, the next question is what it moves through. And Laozi answers that in chapter 42 with an actual blueprint with 4 sequences from nothing to everything, which is essentially how everything is created in our reality. And this today is a really good one because this is some deep Chinese esoteric shit that I hesitant to talk about because I'm afraid it's too deep, but fuck it, that's a limiting belief. And I'm gonna try to simplify it as easy as possible. Chapter 42, there's a quote that goes as follows. Tao gives birth to 1, 1 gives birth to 2 gives birth to 3 gives birth to all existence. Now, I'm going to break it down in a more easy way to understand, because when I first look at this, you might be like, what the fuck is this? So 1 is the source. DAO gives birth to 1, which is the source. Later, Taoists also call it Wuji, which means limitless. No form, no separation, and nothing has carved out yet. Now, level 2, 1 gives birth to 2, and 2 is Taiji. And don't worry, I got you covered. Taiji is like, it also means obviously the Chinese Tai Chi, but in this context, it means the pivot, okay? And, you know, essentially this is like the first stirring inside the stillness. You have seen the symbol 1,000 times, the yin-yang symbol. I'm going to put it right here, even I drew it in the beginning, the black and white swirl. And almost everyone reads it as balance. It's only part of the story. Look again. It's the moment right before separation. The two halves still curling into each other. Now, level 3, which we can conceptualize it as polarity or yin and yang. Now, polarity is born at level 3 because full requires empty, hot requires cold, fat requires skinny, rich requires poor, things of that nature. And the friction between them is where events starts happening. And level 4, all existence, right? So all existence, obviously it's a lot more than that, but for the context of this reality thing, it already includes everything in our reality. Your body, your business, your bank account, your fear of it all falling apart, all of it. Everything you have ever labeled reality lives at this 4th and final level. Now, at this point you might ask, why the fuck does this matter anyway? Well, everything you have ever tried to fix lives at level 4, which is what we call quote-unquote reality. And you have been trying to fix it from inside level 4, you know? Stacking strategy on top of strategy, while the thing generating all of it sits 3 levels underneath, completely untouched, quietly running in the background the entire time. The 3 gates allow Su's way back down that map. Wu Wei, Ziran, and finally the one nobody gets past, which we're going to get into right now. So the honest question before gate 1 is, what's actually running you at level 4? And most people literally cannot answer that, because the pattern that's running you is the exact pattern you can't see because you're inside of it. It's essentially being zoomed all the way into one item in a photo and trying to describe the whole photo. That's why I've built a free archetype quiz for business owners. Take about 3 minutes, it's free, link in description, and it names which of the 8 archetypes your subconscious has been quietly running you through. Now, let's get into the gate 1 and 2, shall we? Now, let me make some space here. A lot of us always talk about Wu Wei, but Wu Wei is literally gate number 1, which means it's kind of a triangle, like a trilogy. So Wu Wei, and the conventional approach to Wu Wei I see is non-action. Like, I'm just gonna lay on my couch and life will work itself out. Just like how Justin Trudeau said, the budget would balance itself out. Did it? No, it didn't. So why the fuck would this work, right? You need to understand, Wu Wei is action minus forcing. That pretty much like sums it up. Just like water going around the rock as opposed to smashing straight into it. Now, why are we always using water? Think about it on a deep level. Sit with it a second. Laozi said the highest good is like water, because water benefits everything without competing, and it settles into the low places everybody else looks down on, and that's exactly why it's close to the Tao. It's not the Tao, but it's the closest thing we can observe as kind of like the Tao, as an imagery, if that makes sense. Now, Think about where you're forcing right now. And you probably already know the spot. The harder you drill straight through that wall with more hours and more caffeine, the more you convince yourself the wall is the problem. You're wiped out by 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. You're refreshing something you already refreshed an hour ago, and you're calling it discipline day in and day out. Now, chapter 40 has this quote over here in Tao Te Ching, and it essentially unlocks everything I'm saying here, so stay tuned, right? Chapter 40 says, reversal is the movement of the Tao. Everything that expands eventually contracts, and everything that peaks turns back, which means your slow month, or if you extrapolate this to your life, your bad month, bad week, is half of a cycle. It's yin and yang doing what yin and yang have been doing in every business and every civilization in recorded history. And the more personally you take a contraction, the deeper it buries you at level 4, which is what we call all existence, reality. And the more you see it as a cycle turning, the faster it turns. Just like how water wears down the rock by persisting in its own direction, and it never once changes direction to prove a point. The second you stop swimming against the current starts carrying you. The current was always going to carry you. You just had to stop swimming against it. Which brings us to gate number 2, because Wu Wei is how you move, and Ziran is who you are while you're moving. And this is where it could get uncomfortable for some of you. But hey, I know you clicked to hear the truth, and you're not a little bitch, so here it comes. So, gate 2. Now, don't worry. Of course, I'm gonna break it down so easily, right? It means naturalness. Naturalness. Now, naturalist really means being exactly what you are without contorting yourself into a costume every morning. Because your ceiling is your nervous system set point wearing whatever costume makes sense to you. Your life is running perfectly, by the way. It's running perfectly to a blueprint your subconscious wrote years ago, and that blueprint decides what level of good feels tolerable and what level of being seen feels like survival danger. When you get near the edge of that zone, your system drags you back down. To back up what I'm saying here, an author that I respect a lot named Gay Hendricks calls it the upper limit problem, which is synonymous with what I'm saying here. You mysteriously lose focus, or you sabotage something small at the worst possible moment, and you will swear it was bad luck, except that was your system protecting you. Your brain cares about predictability way more than it cares about what you say you want. You see it clears around money, especially, because money keeps score. Somebody gives away any margin on a card they had no business discounting. Maybe somebody quietly stops posting the week after the best week, right? Just like yesterday when I went to a vape shop, I was like, yo, I get 100 for 2 is somewhere else. And this guy literally folded under no pressure. He's like, we don't offer that kind of discount, but we could do it. I was like, sure, I will take it. Thank you. He folded, right? Now, I'm not trying to shade him, but that is essentially sabotage in action. He's so afraid of losing the deal, losing the business. Same mechanism underneath. And money just where it leaves a receipt. So this is where the magnet changes everything. A magnet doesn't chase metal. It sits there being exactly what it is. And metal moves towards it inevitably, without exception. You work the same way in naturalness. Because the truth of the matter is, the softest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. And it wins because it never fights. You know, I think a very, very good example is, let's say if you're like fighting with your girl and she's acting soft, what are you gonna do? You're gonna freaking fold, right? That's naturalness in action. I'm just kidding. The forcing one burns out chasing. The regulated ones becomes the thing that gets chased. The less you're proving, the more you're receiving. Now, at this point, here's where almost everybody falls off, because most people stop at Wu Wei and naturalness and think they've got it, and 6 weeks later, they're forcing again. Sounds familiar? Because without gate 3, the first 2 gates have nothing to hold on to. And gate 3 is, I'm really not trying to raise this against my own terms, but it sounds funny. It's poo. And this is essentially what we call the uncarved block. An uncarved block has raw potential. Like raw potential before society carves its expectations into you. On the map, poo is essentially Wu Ji, which is what we call limitless, wearing your name. Gate 3 is where you drop below level 4 entirely. Because on chapter 16, Laozi was able to put everything together. I don't want to wipe off this out because I think it's still kind of helpful what I'm saying here, so I'm just going to add this. Now, Laozi has pretty much kind of sums it up in level 40 here. Reach outmost emptiness, hold firm to stillness, the 10,000 things arises together, and I watch them return. Now, I wouldn't want you to read this as a philosophical, oh, this is so deep. No, this is mechanics. Read that as a reprogramming instruction because that's what this is. Now, your subconscious mind is running an old code, the I'm not good enough script, the I have to prove it script, and you cannot overwrite old code by stacking new code on top of it, which is essentially what every affirmation you have ever tried has attempted. You have to empty it first. I cannot stress this enough. Now, run the map top to bottom, right? Run the map top to bottom, the things I said earlier, and ask one question at every level. What survives? Form? It's gone by level 3, what I mentioned earlier. Polarity? Gone by level 2. Identity? The felt sense of being, separate somebody with a name and a history. It's completely gone by level 1. Awareness? Present at every single level. All 4 levels of the DAO, all the way down. Even in dreamless sleep, awareness is always there. When there's nobody and no mind and no costume and no story, something is still there. Because every time you wake up, you know it was still and something had to be present to register that stillness. That's DAO. The one thing in your entire experience that has never once been absent. You have just been so consumed with level 4 reality that you have never turned around to notice the thing doing all the noticing. And this is what I meant at the start. Once you understand DAO, you understand everything about your reality, because everything in your reality is either something arising, the awareness it's arising in, there's no third thing. So the actual step is this, right? Quite literally, you might ask, what's the next thing to do? Is it to meditate? Is it to affirm? Is it to visualize? Is it to put in the more work? Is it to not do anything about it? Is it to whatever? None of those is actually going to go deep in the roots and actually solve this problem. So what I really want you to do is quite literally just this. And it sounds so simple, yet so many of us are struggle to do this. The beginning to return with the flow, the DAO, is quite literally drop everything. Drop everything, I mean it. And before your brain panics, keep the business, keep the life. What you're dropping, when you do drop everything, right? What is included in your everything? The identity, right? You're dropping the identity of someone who is struggling, which goes hand in hand and align with what I was saying about emptying your cup first, right? Because when you bounce a beach ball underwater, the more you grip it and force it down, the more energy you burn keeping it there. Let go and it rises on its own, which brings us back to the security camera. That was me gripping the boss at level 4, and honestly, I was wrecked. Then I let go, I hire more staff, I stopped hovering, I essentially just assumed it was already done. and revenue went up to 800K annually in 2024. And the right marketing agent showed up when I was not searching for one, which is ironic because I spent months searching. To back up what I'm saying here, Startup Snapshot surveyed founders in 2023, and 72% said building the startup had damaged their mental health. That's what chronic nature does. Your nervous system cannot sit in survival mode and growth mode at the same time because forcing is physiologically incompatible with receiving. You can't be sitting and standing at the same time. So to sum it up, Wu Wei is your direction. Naturalness, who's doing the traveling, right? And Pu, this final step, is what stops both from snapping back to the old set point. And here's the tool you will actually use this week. I invite you to, or I'm a dictator, I'm telling you to. I'm kidding. You can do it, up to you. But I genuinely believe it will work for you. When something goes wrong in your reality, maybe it's a deal collapses or somebody ghosts you, ask one question before you react. Which level am I standing on the left, on the fourth level? Because I call it the attitude check. At level 4, that event is a catastrophe about your worth. Drop one level and the same events becomes contractions. Half of a cycle that has always turned back around. Same event, completely different regulation in your nervous system. That one shift in altitude is the difference between carrying something for 3 days and releasing it in 3 minutes. Releasing in 3 minutes, usually it lasts longer than that. The thermostat moves because the set point moved. Standing there yelling at the thermometer was never going to change the room. And feel free to drop a comment with which level you caught yourself standing on today. I read them and I'm assuming level 4 is going to win by a landslide. Now, you might, I get a lot of people, they're like, okay, cool, how do we implement this? I got you. Just give me 1 second. There are certain things that I'm not fast at, So how do we implement this, right? How do we actually put this in a practical sense and apply it? Well, here's what you would do today, and it's going to feel small. I want you to pick a single place where you're gripping the hardest, right? So essentially, I want you to essentially pick a place where you're gripping the hardest, where you just cannot let go. Oh my God, I need my business to do this next month. I need this, whatever. Somebody asked me about SP. Sorry, that's not really my lane. So let's focus on the career and mastering our own reality. Now, you already thought of it while I was talking. For, let's say 7 days, okay? Don't touch that lever. Don't touch this for 7 days. Don't check the revenue number and don't renegotiate with yourself on day 3. And to make it easier, every morning, literally do nothing and sit for 10 minutes or more because somebody commented, 15 minutes and my mind's still racing, then double down on it. And put your attention on the gap, the pause between the inhale finishing and the exhale beginning. Because that pause held in awareness is literally Tai Chi level 2. Experience directly. Thoughts will show up. Don't push them out. That's just more force. I cannot stress this enough. Watch them arise. Watch them return. Now, I'll be honest, it's not always going to be like, wow, everything changed in a week. No, sometimes it just gets quieter. But quieter is the first thing that happens before anything moves. Everything I just gave you is the foundation, and I've essentially got 2 invitations for you. Number 1 was the quiz, still free, still in the description. Number 2, if you're an entrepreneur or self-employed and you have been sitting at the same ceiling for a while and you're honest enough to admit the funnel was never the problem, there's a call link in the description. Now, before you go, if DAO truly contains everything, then the parts of yourself you have been rejecting were never outside of it. And the more you reject a part of yourself, the more that exact part runs your life from level 4. And most people have no idea it's happening. So watch this video next, because I'm going to show you why embracing that exact side of yourself is what finally lets everything you have been chasing come through.